As soon as the meeting ended, the work session meeting was happening in a different room than the council chambers. And so I left the room. I had no intentions to engage with anyone from that group of Lino Slow the Grow. This is the opposition group that has organized itself, who claim that they are not about racism and discrimination. And members, the leadership and the members of that group who are clearly wearing Lino Lakes t-shirts that show that they are part of that group began to surround me, began to ask me direct questions. And at that time, I knew that that was not an appropriate way to engage with her. So I calmly did not respond to her. She began to continuously come into closer to me in much closer proximity. And I began to step back, and she continued in her tirade. And then now we began to walk in the hallway to the council chambers. And that is when I saw the whole group literally around me. One of the individuals who was leading this project began to pull a phone in my face, and I immediately responded to that, and I started to push back against what they were trying to do in that particular situation. What ensued was that this woman continued on her tirade, and I clearly asked them all support of Mr. Lydon and his remarks, because otherwise they would have been remorseful or at least reject what this person had said. In fact, they seemed to be angry, and I could tell the way that they were behaving that this was not a safe place for me. And therefore, this woman began immediately saying, "Are you threatening people?" And I said, "No, what are you talking?" And then it didn't matter. So then she just repeated the same question over and over. And then that's when I realized this is not somebody who's asking questions or somebody who just wants to say, squirmish things that you don't like. She literally would turn in her face and start, and then I immediately stopped engaging her. Then she continued. I would get closer, I would move back, and then as soon as I start walking away, she would walk next to me, continue. And then here's when I saw the others literally gathering around, and then that gentleman began to grab his phone, put it right in my face. I did engage with him and told him, get that phone out of my face, or if you want to record, come out and record. And then that's when he immediately put the phone down, came right in my face, literally within inches, and said, "Don't talk to me."
And then when you're in the hallway before, when they're putting the phone in your face, what does it come to? Are they like right up next to you? Do they never touch you but put the phone in your face?
Yes, no one touched me, but they were literally in close proximity, and they were walking. And I didn't notice that until the officer came, that they were literally, all of them were surrounded.
How many people was it?
About 5, let's say.
What were some of the things that were saying to you?
So they specifically, Lydon made statements in the chamber where he said Jaylani has threatened professors, and so I'm concerned now, because if they're willing to do that to me, what are they willing to do to others? And the first incident, the police officer asked me to go inside the chambers. I told him clearly what happened, and I did that. As soon as I came, sat down in the chambers, that same individual who held the phone in front of my face and was trying to intimidate me came right next to me and sat next to me violently. Not, just here's a seat, let me sit down. He wanted to continue to engage with me. And in that moment, I felt that it was unsafe for me to stay there. And I did not want to cause any more attention. And I knew exactly, because I have experience since I've been an executive director of CAIR Minnesota. Anytime I go to places where there is attention, I am a targeted individual. And I have taken security trainings, and in those trainings I've learned that you have to do everything possible in your way to stay safe. And when I realized that they were not following me, I went home.
So when you left the meeting, did you, after this person sat next to you, do you have any other interactions with police or let them know, or you just left?
No, as soon as, in both iterations, I did talk to the police. So the first time when they were interacting, I talked to the police. I tried to explain to them. The police wanted to just me to move out of the way so everybody be quiet. That was their solution to the problem at the time. And I was fine. Then I moved inside to the chambers. As soon as I sat down, the leader of the Lino Lakes Slow the Grow movement rushed, literally fast-paced, and sat down as if like somebody was jumping into the seat rather than slowly sitting down. And he was the individual who came in with the phone, and I could see that he was trembling, and he was not of his best self. And so then I got up and I immediately talked to the officer who was in the chambers, and I said, "This is unacceptable. You have to talk to these people." He said, "Are you safe? I'm going to make you safe." And at that time, I said, "I'm done. I'm going to leave." And then I immediately left because I personally. So I listened to his instructions, went inside, sat down, and here comes that individual with his members. First, he sits right next to me, puts his thing down, and I could tell right now that I was not going to have a safe meeting if that person is sitting next to me, who just literally was in my face. He did not stop. He went right after me. As soon as I sat down, sat right next to me in a violent manner. And I personally believe that he was beginning to try to escalate that situation.
What did he say when he was sitting next to you?
He just, I didn't even hear. I don't know if he said something. All I know is as soon as I sat down on the corner chair. Immediately he sat down. And the way he sat down was also evident to me. He wasn't just like, "Oh, let me find a seat here." He sat down violently, and I could tell he wanted to continue whatever happened in the hallway. And at that time, like I said, my safety thing kicked in. I knew right away I had to disengage for the safety of myself and also for everybody else. So then I got up, went to the back, just immediately spoke to the police officer and told him, "Hey, I need you to talk to these people. This is not acceptable, behavior, what they're doing." And he said, "Well, are you safe?" And I said, "Listen, you need to talk to him." And he did not, he was not engaging in that way to respond to them. And then immediately, my training kicked in, and I said, if they're going to keep following you around, and we did not have a large presence of folks who were supportive of the Medina Lake projects. There were very few people that were there. Many of them were witnesses to exactly what they saw. And they outnumbered us. So I did not feel safe to stay there. And even though the officers tried to reassure me that they will do everything safe, I did not felt safe at the time. And so, and I did the best possible thing to de-escalate it, to leave the scene, and based on the trainings that I have taken, because I did not believe at that time that I was safe.
Were you worried that it could escalate to being physical?
Yes. The way that their leader stepped up to me, it did not seem an argument anymore. When you're arguing with people, there seems to be, I want to get my word in. Right? I'm talking out my frustration. This person came right up to me and told me, "Don't talk to me," even though he was the one pulling the phone in my face. And then as soon as that movement happened, you see the police officer come and get between us. So for them to turn this entire thing at me and personally and target me, even though the conversation was about Mr. Lydon and the statements that he has made, shows that this group, now I will just say that I know many people who are part of this group probably have no idea what happened. They probably are not fully aware of what's in this email. We are asking for them to today to condemn the behavior of their leaders, their efforts to try to intimidate and threaten me at the council meeting. We're asking them to disavow Mr. Lydon and join us in calling for Lydon's resignation. From my security trainings that I have taken in the past, the best way for me to deal is if they're targeting me, I can't be there for them. And I don't know if anything will spike them to do even worse than what they were planning to do. Instead, what has happened is when you allow hate to fester, the next thing that happens is violence. And I saw the first iteration of that in that meeting, when Lydon targeted me, and that target turned into action from his followers. Again, unprovoked. I did not look at them. I didn't try to even engage them. I tried to disengage. These people were very organized. They were angry, and they targeted me from the beginning to the end. That silence leads to violence. And I saw the first iteration of what violent people can do in that chamber hallway when those individuals began to target me, began to come into my face, and repeatedly asking me questions that I was the one who was causing harm. That was how it was interpreted, that I was causing harm, and I completely say no. But it didn't matter, even if I said yes or no, it didn't matter. And then immediately you can see the others gathering around me, and then the other one pulling his phone in front of me, and then it took the police officers to get in between us. And then after that, he did not stop. He went right after me. As soon as I sat down, sat right next to me in a violent manner. And I personally believe that he was beginning to try to escalate that situation. And that's when they heard the commotion and began to kind of get between us. What I did see was not a normative behavior. This was not people trying to engage with me, trying to ask questions, have a debate. This was people who were, I could tell from the way that they were, literally their hands, and you can see how they were aggressive. You could tell that they were trembling even. I knew that they were not in their best selves. We are not afraid of any of them. I'm not afraid of any of these groups. I've never been afraid of these people. I will continue to stand up and be resilient and courageous. I will be taking security measures more seriously as I come up to the next meetings that will be coming up to put labels against me, and that's normal. In fact, we know that that's normal because Islamophobic groups have historically attacked our organization as an organization that advocates against Islamophobia. So usually those who have Islamophobic tendencies will attack naturally CAIR Minnesota. They'll attack me. They'll continue to make statements about our organization, and that is the norm. So he's also acting normative to what we have seen as attacks against the Muslim community. Mr. Lino went on, and the mayor did not stop him, even though the mayor has historically mentioned in previous meetings that personality should not be targeted, that the content, that the message should be focused on broader perspective, and no member should be named. My name was mentioned, and immediately after my name was mentioned multiple times by Lino, his followers did exactly what people would do, which is to go after the person that Lino is targeting, and they went right after me. And I could tell in their eyes that they had not only hate for me, but that they wanted to even harm me. So what we want is, we want the city council to immediately respond to this, to censure him, to take every action that they are allowed to do. We want the general public of Lino Lakes to reach out to the other council members and even Lino and call for his resignation. And while a recall or potentially having a forceful push out of the council member is not something that maybe they're not able to do, but at least they have a responsibility to hold council members accountable for their behavior, and public pressure is required for a racist, Islamophobic, hateful, disgusting email. But we believe that this call today is a call to Lino Lake residents and the broader community. When a sitting council member who has the power to govern chooses to engage in this behavior, there has to be consequences. And, there's no reason he should be on the city council. There's no reason. Otherwise, Islamophobia is accepted by the public and by Lino Lakes. We're also asking for people who have nothing to do with Lino Lakes, residents of the state of Minnesota, people who say that they care about Islamophobia, they want to do something about it. We want to hear them. We want to hear them, and we also want them to show up to these city council meetings. There's nothing left. I mean, he did attack Islam, he attacked Muslims, he went on to tell us tropes about Muslims lying, among other things. And what, to our surprise, obviously, is the response by City Council member Lino. Mr. Lino responded to that email and replied all, both to the New York Times reporter, CAIR staff here, myself, as well as our national communication team in CAIR. And in that response, he clearly said, and I quote, "the best email ever." That was his response to that email. We believe that a council member who, one, makes a statement like that about Islamophobia, and then backs it up with statements where he completely not only ignores but double down, and then on Monday triples down, is not somebody who can accurately serve the residents of Lino Lakes. The first thing that we have not seen is public condemnations of his behavior in the letter. We cited against making this letter public because of the nature of how horrific it is, but now we will share it publicly and make sure that people see the contents of exactly what's in this email. And we're deeply concerned about what this means moving forward. I'm also deeply concerned about the way that this has been handled by the city. They had enough information. There is no words in that email that would tell you, I need to learn more, I may need to read more. It is very clear the content, letter by letter, of that email was hateful, targeted, and that's exactly what came out of it. And both the mayor and the city council have refused to take the seriousness of this matter. And now for 2 meetings, they have not taken an action. And in the Monday's work session, they even did not know as the staff reminded him multiple times that it's the council's responsibility to hold council members accountable. Thieves. In this case, Lydon has proven that he is Islamophobic. He has not come out and apologized. He didn't make up some excuses. He hasn't even tried to even explain it one way or the other. I didn't know the email. I just saw the head. Anything to explain. Nope, I'm not the problem. Jaylani and CAIR are the problem. Obviously, a council member who publicly spoke against the Medina Lakes project, who publicly has attacked myself and the CAIR in that process of the moratorium, who continued to share this mixed language about him not being Islamophobic or in that nature, to respond to this email, first of all. Then to respond in that nature that this was the best possible email ever. There is no more evidence to show that this particular city council member, we believe, can never be objective based on the fact of the decision that he made here. On any matter relating to Muslims and other minorities that he may not seem fit to his narrative. Because no one should be supportive of exactly what's mentioned in that email. And in that email, it says things like Islam hates us. It says Islam is our enemy, and refers to the Quran, which is the holy book, as hate speech against Christians and Jews. And he talks about, this emailer talks about pretty much that you should stop good luck in halting Muslim concepts in Minnesota, or Muslim conquest in Minnesota. He believes that the Medina Lakes project is a conquest. And these are the type of Islamophobic language that we know was used as a backdrop of the Crusades, among other things. These are hateful things that draw upon the worst of people. And for us to be in this moment after 2 meetings and other council members not even taking a step to say this is disgusting. In this email, he says Islam hates us. I mean, this is a tirade that the person just ran out of typing paper. I mean, literally just one thing after the other. Muslims are lying, Muslims are this, Muslims are that. And this is what we've been talking about. So Lydon is not somebody who should be surprised by this. He was hearing our concern every meeting that Islamophobia is happening. People are claiming this. And the way he responded, I think that, God exposed him, because I don't think he was planning to share that email with us. But the way he responded to that email is telling. And then now he's literally saying, I'm not who I am. Yeah. Which is, again, a classic example of, most thieves don't want anyone to know that they're thieves, but they are thieves. If the evidence showed that they're thieves, they're thieves.
So you were in the hallway going, or what were you?
Yeah, we're walking from they had a conference room that they used for the work session meeting.
So that's where they talked about the email?
Yep, that's where they discussed the email. The conclusion of that conversation was that they had a draft, the staff or the attorney drafted a message that they should put out. Rulin and one of the other council members who have been supportive of the moratorium immediately said we need time to review it or whatever, and so they tabled it from being discussed. They did ask the staff, or the staff did remind them a couple of times that it's the city council responsibility to do this, that they can't just push that out. However, there has been a lot of reporting on this. A New York Times reporter went and covered the area. That reporter gained obviously some national attention, and a well-known Islamophobic emailer who has some history of emailing CAIR and other organizations responded to that New York Times article with an increasingly clear Islamophobic email. That email contained almost checked every single box of what's considered to be Islamophobic. Mr. Lydon went on, and the mayor did not stop him, even though the mayor has historically mentioned in previous meetings that personality should not be targeted, that the content, that the message should be focused on broader perspective, and no member should be named. My name was mentioned, and immediately after my name was mentioned multiple times by Lydon, his followers did exactly what people would do, which is to go after the person that Lydon is targeting, and they went right after me. And I could tell in their eyes that they had not only hate for me, but that they wanted to even harm me. So what we want is, we want the city council to immediately respond to this, to censure him, to take every action that they are allowed to do. We want the general public of Lino Lakes to reach out to the other council members and even Lydon and call for his resignation. And while a recall or potentially having a forceful push out of the council member is not something that maybe they're not able to do, but at least they have a responsibility to hold council members accountable for their behavior, and public pressure is required for a racist, Islamophobic, hateful, disgusting email. But we believe that this call today is a call to Lino Lake residents and the broader community. When a sitting council member who has the power to govern chooses to engage in this behavior, there has to be consequences. And, there's no reason he should be on the city council. There's no reason. Otherwise, Islamophobia is accepted by the public and by Lino Lakes. We're also asking for people who have nothing to do with Lino Lakes, residents of the state of Minnesota, people who say that they care about Islamophobia, they want to do something about it. We want to hear them. We want to hear them, and we also want them to show up to these city council meetings. We are not afraid of any of them. I'm not afraid of any of these groups. I've never been afraid of these people. I will continue to stand up and be resilient and courageous. I will be taking security measures more seriously as I come up to the next meetings that will be coming up.
So then you talked about a little, just like, you think there's a link there, right? Like, if they keep talking about this email in this way, or failing to denounce it in a more strong way, it kind of leads to this behavior, you believe, by these supporters.
So let's say, give me an example. Let's say council member Lighten said, we should just hang black people. We should go back to the 50s. And it wasn't a good idea. Good idea to hang them. What would be the response? That would be something his own family would have a problem with. Most thieves don't want anyone to know that they're thieves, but they are thieves. If the evidence showed that they're thieves, anytime, if something is a swastika